Let me come to you, Mr. Duggal, and how would you really agree with what the UK watchdog is saying about Google and how it does its business?
Well, clearly, the winds of change are blowing. Clearly, in the life post-COVID-19, players have to understand that digital monopolies will not be permanent. And that means so there's growing kind of a microscopic scrutiny by stakeholders, specifically regulators, globally against big monopolies. And that's the reason why when I look at noises coming from different jurisdictions, it's very clear that the jurisdictions want to look at establishing a level playing field, which is clearly not established at the current moment. Well, Google is entitled to make its arguments, but the fact still remains is it's one of the most dominant players. And one of the key things that stakeholders, specifically regulators, want to ensure is that this dominant position ought not to be misused so as to go ahead and minimize the chances of business survival for opponents, and therefore level playing field has to be the utmost necessity. Whether it's the American judge's uh, decision against Google last month, whether it's a complaint against Google before the Competition Commission of India last month, and whether it's now the finding, the interim finding of the UK watchdog. I think everywhere when there's so much of noise happening, the time has come where the big dominant players need to realize that, okay, let's understand our dominant position, but let's also not be seen to be impediments in the creation of a level playing field. They can use their dominance in other positions, but if it's being used for locking out competition, then that will be a no-no from the perspective of regulators, more so in this new age post-COVID-19, when the new cyber world order has arrived and where there's going to be increasingly less kind of tolerance to this dominant power. But of course, all things have been said, Google is entitled to take up its legal kind of arguments, and they will have to be adjudicated by different courts in different jurisdictions. But when so many jurisdictions are after you, there has to be something wrong. There has to be some kind of issues which will have to be addressed by Google as it goes forward.